Is Horizon Forbidden West an amazing game? Yeah, it is. Is the entire franchise cursed? Almost certainly. So, our question for today is, should you play an amazing game even though it's almost certainly cursed? Well,
That's interesting, Daryl. I think that maybe you should Can't hear you.
huh? This is the first time you're hearing about Horizon being cursed. It's alright, I thought this might happen. Let me explain. It was early on in 2017 that the world was first introduced to what would arguably go on to be the best open world video game ever made. A game that not only perfected what came before, but challenged what was to come in the future. It was regarded as the new gold standard of the open world genre and what every game should aspire to be. And so it was that Horizon Zero Dawn was finally released. 3 days before the game I'm actually talking about. What was otherwise an amazing game was quickly overshadowed by what many claim to be the game of the generation. But this slight scheduling conflict didn't deter developer Guerrilla Games. They knew that they had struck gold. So off to work they went for the next 5 years before finally releasing Horizon Forbidden West, 7 days before Elden Ring came out.
What are the odds? What are the odds?
Okay, that's enough, you know. Let someone else play.
If you didn't want to play, then why'd you come to the party?
In Horizon's defense, Breath of the Wild was a once-in-a-generation game. You can't predict that sort of thing. Plus, no game since has come even close to dethroning it from the pedestal of what many would consider to be GOAT status. So, it's not like they've released it before another Breath of the Wild, right?
Oh no.
It's a little game called Elden Ring, and apparently it is the Soulsborne Breath of the Wild.
Oh no. Oh no.
I'm in danger!
For the second time in a row, Horizon has launched just days before what is seeming to be another genre-defining, once-in-a-generation game that sucked all the wind out of Forbidden West sales. I mean, seriously, Guerrilla Games, even if you don't believe in curses, surely someone there by now must be at least thinking to themselves,
I'm not superstitious, but I am a little stitious.
But this tragedy goes beyond just a curse. The real tragedy is that once again, this franchise has produced something incredible that will not get the reception it deserves. Forbidden West is a much more traditional open world game, but if Elden Ring is Dark Souls meets Breath of the Wild, then Forbidden West is Monster Hunter meets The Witcher 3. Instead of trying to change what an open world game is, it perfects what it was, and creates a world that is rich in lore, deep in stories, and visually spectacular. Forbidden West takes place roughly 6 months after the events in Horizon Zero Dawn, and while the game starts with a recap, if you never played the first one, it may as well just say to you,
We're fighting an army of robots. And I have a bow and arrow. None of this makes sense.
there are a lot of moving parts to this story, so I would definitely recommend checking out a more detailed recap online before jumping in. Even if you do go in blind though, Guerrilla Games weaves its world building back and forth throughout your adventure masterfully, using environmental storytelling to add another layer of depth to the information you discover through conversations. Now, it should be said, I do have a bit of bias towards these types of environments though, because
I love post-apocalyptic versions of Earth!
and what could possibly be better than a post-apocalyptic version of Earth? Oh, I don't know, how about a post-apocalyptic version of Earth? Yeah, why don't you try that on for size? That means the post-apocalypse has come and gone, baby.
We're in the endgame now.
And this is evidenced by little details scattered throughout your journey. You'll spend lots of time collecting or encountering relics of the old world that the game will label with terms like ancient chimes, for instance. But a cursory glance will show you exactly what it is you've just picked up.
I do not understand.
I do. I understood that reference.
And that's just one small example, as you'll be encountering this in much, much grander scales. And speaking of grander scales, the machines that you're up against have gone to another level. A big part of the gameplay loop is going up against different types of machines that are all based on different types of animals. The animal is that based on?
Thanks, it's an original.
Gosh.
Okay, so not all based on animals then. These machines are important to go up against as they yield lots of important materials you need to be able to complete quests, craft ammunition, or upgrade your gear. Overall, Every aspect of the combat feels like it's been tightened from the original game. The skill trees have been improved and expanded, meaning you can now build Aloy into a character that will fit your playstyle, be it focusing on traps, stealth, melee, or just going in with a good old-fashioned bow and arrow. And then, I guess, no one told Guerrilla what a boss battle is and how often they're supposed to be used, because every machine that you encounter that's larger than a horse is basically a boss battle. And honestly, they never get old or any less exhilarating. Every time I took down a giant Thunderjaw, I would always take a minute to turn to my wife and calmly inform her that
That was totally wicked!
Now, I'm not going to spoil any of this game for you, but there are now a bunch more creatures that are Thunderjaw size. How good. And when you're looking at machines this big, it's hard to not get distracted by how much detail there is in them. I mean, you can actually see the individual components spinning around as you rip them from their body piece by piece. Oh, jeez. Got a bit dark.
Somebody change the subject! Somebody change the subject!
How good is this boulder look?
I like that boulder. That is a nice boulder.
But it's not just boulders, it's everything. I mean, look at these trees, they look great. And this desert, the way the wind moves around the sands, and snow that looks so real, it makes you actually feel cold. There are so many show-stopping environments that you'll be panning your way around the world like you're a gold miner from the 1850s. And that is just above land, because there is a whole new element that's been added to Forbidden West. And the element in question?
Earth.
Nope.
Fire.
Oh, that's cool, but no.
Air.
Air? That's a stretch, not air.
Water.
Yes, that's it. That's the one. Water. Specifically, underwater. Before you panic, it actually handles great, and it's just as exciting to explore as the land is above. But enough about the graphics. The thing that has truly blown me away above all else is the quality of the side missions. I've talked on this channel before about The Witcher 3 and how I think that game delivers a level of side stories that are as good as entire other main games.
Here, your frying pan.
But I honestly think Horizon Forbidden West tops it, to the point where I began to ask myself, what does it mean to just finish the game? Traditionally, the main game is defined by the type of mission you're completing, with most open world games very clearly labeling if you're embarking on a main story mission or side content. But what happens when the side content is not only as good as the main content, but also enhances it to make it even more impactful? Then, my friends, you have an open world game with no bloat. And hasn't that always been the dream? An open world game where every single activity, not you, matters, and more importantly, is unique. Sure, there are still bandit outposts to take and collectibles to find, but each experience feels a little different. Where most games have towers to climb to uncover the map, you know who you are, like in Zero Dawn, you have to get to the top of tall necks to get a lay of the land instead. Unlike the previous game though, each one presents you a new challenge. Some are a straightforward climb, others you actually have to restrain and bring them down to your level, and another you have to build yourself entirely. The side stories though are on another level, and I would argue that if you normally mainline games and skip side content, then you would be missing out on what makes this game stand apart. Every night I would complete these side missions and I would learn more about the world, its people, and develop meaningful relationships between Aloy and people across multiple tribes. Then I'd go and tell my wife about every story that happened like I was telling her about my day, and God bless her, she really tried to be interested. Add on top of all of this a host of other improvements from the original, like a slightly worse version of Breath of the Wild's glider and climbing systems, a huge crafting system, and a whole in-world board game called Machine Strike, which I've not even mentioned yet, but I can only conclude was designed solely for Gwent simps like me, and I love it. While Elden Ring innovates, Forbidden West iterates, and not only is there a place for both, but there's a need for both. No matter how innovative a new open world game can be, you're still going to have your Ubisofts of the world who will follow the path of iteration instead. Now that Guerrilla has provided the blueprint for how to perfect that formula, just as Breath of the Wild did for Elden Ring before it, I'm incredibly excited to see what the future of open world games has in store for us. But because this is still a cursed franchise after all, even if one could argue that that curse could simply be lifted by gifting their sales team a calendar, you will still have to decide if it's something you want to mess with for yourself. You already know what I would recommend.
What I'm saying is that...
Still nothing.
So for as excited as I am for the next Horizon game, I'm even more excited for whatever the next genre-defining open world game is that's gonna come out the week after it. And that, I think, is a curse that's worth the risk. If you want to know more about curses, then check out these videos. These characters know all about them. Don't forget to hit the like button if you enjoyed this video and subscribe for new videos like this every week. See you next time.